my vault, I got my stash in it. We on the moon, it was no accident. I got that on me, I am so passionate. Diamond hands, I ain't selling it. I got that sauce, it's in the cabinet. I got a bag, now I'm too legit. Why they so mad, now that we crypto rich? Look at my vault, it's so extravagant. Copper collectible, triple it, double it, we really got it on smash. Bigger bank, my bag. VeVe got me doing math. Dexter in the lab, scientists in the dad. I ain't makes no cash, like a Tesla whip, no gas. Investing since May, and we made it to November. Did a lot of things, only OGs can't remember. Still getting paid, flipping NFTs in the winter. Yes, I'm feeling wonderful, my vault is up $1 million. VeVe my vault, I got my stash in it. We on the moon, it was no accident. I got that on me, I am so passionate. Diamond hands, I ain't selling it. I got that sauce, it's in the cabinet. I got a bag, now I'm too legit. Why they so mad, now that we crypto rich? Look at my vault, it's so extravagant.
What's up, my homies and fellow NFT collectors? We got a big drop coming up, a Valentine's Day Disney Golden Moments drop. So I figured it'd be a good time to go over some drop tips and techniques that might help you secure that drop and future drops going forward. Before we get into some of the old and new drop techniques, it's important to look at all the information that we need to maximize our phone speed and our internet speed on drop day, because that matters a lot. Alright, so first off and most importantly, you need to look at how fast or how powerful your phone is, and what matters there is the processor speed. There's a website here, and I'll link it in the description, where you can find out which phones have the fastest processors. Number 1 on the list right now is the A15 Bionic processor, and if you click into that button, you'll see which phones have that processor: the iPhone 13 Pro Max, 13 Pro, and Mini. And the second one on the list is actually a new one that's not in any phones yet at all, so we can skip that one. Then next on the list we have the Snapdragon. Snapdragon is a fast processor. It's in the Xiaomi, the Realme GTO Pro, OnePlus 10, Samsung Galaxy S22s. So the faster processor you have in your phone, the faster you'll be on drop day and the better chance you'll have of getting that drop. This is third on the list. It's in the iPhone 12 Pros and Pro Maxes. And then next is another Snapdragon. The Snapdragons are in the Nubia Red Magic phones, Vivos, and Xiaomis. So you can check out this website and see where your phone ranks on processors and find out if you need to upgrade to a faster phone, because the faster your processor is in your phone, then the faster your ping or your click speed will get through when you're clicking the buy button on drop day. Also, a lot of people, including myself, like to use tablets on the VeVe drops instead of their phones, and here's a list that I'll link in the description of the tablets with the most powerful processors. You can see Microsoft Surface Book 2 is at the top, with the Pro 7 next, a Telecast, and here comes the Apple iPad Pros. Another important factor to consider is your internet speed. I usually test my speed by downloading the Ookla app, OOKLA, or you can go to Google on the device you're using for the drop and just search for speed test. When it comes to optimizing your internet speed, faster download speed doesn't help on drops, but faster upload speed will lower your ping, and you want your ping to be as low as possible. So if you test your internet speed and you're not getting very good ping and you're not having much success on the VeVe drops, but you have a newer device with a good processor, then that means you probably need to upgrade your internet. Some options are 5G, which might be available in your area, and also fiber internet, which includes an installation, which might be expensive. I know one guy told me it cost him $100 to get it installed, but afterwards it's only about an extra $10 a month. I'm highlighting all of this information before we get into the tips and techniques, because really this is the most important stuff. Another important factor is how much memory is on the device you're using for the drop. If you have more than 75% memory used on that device, then it's probably going to slow it down a little bit, and we know in VeVe drops milliseconds matter, so make sure you leave at least 25% empty. I like to leave even more than 50% empty on the phone that I'm using to go for these drops. Also, I'm going to link in the description some resources for some good app cleaners that you can use for both Android or iPhone, and these apps will help get rid of some background processes and old apps that you don't use anymore, and give you a little extra memory and a little extra speed on drop day. Alright guys, now we're going to get into all the tips you need to do to prepare yourself on drop day and even before drop day, and I'm going to break it down into a timeline starting with the night before drop day. And the night before drop day, you need to make sure that you charge your phone up to 100%. You want to make sure you have full battery power, and you want to set your alarm so that you're up in time for drop day. I know a lot of people in my live stream come in after the drop and say they missed it because they overslept, so make sure you're always setting your alarm the night before drop day. Alright guys, next we're going to go up till 30 minutes before the drop begins, and when there's 30 minutes you want to make sure that you've rebooted your router, and that's going to clear off the old information packets and actually give you just a little bit more speed on your internet connection. You can remove your phone case. If you're using a mobile phone on Wi-Fi, that case can actually slow down the Wi-Fi connection a little bit, so remove your phone case before the drop begins. Free up memory on your phone. Like I said, there's some phone cleaner apps that can help you do that, and get rid of old apps that you're not using anymore. You can also close out all the other apps that you're using on the phone. The only one you want open is VeVe, and you want to log into the app early, especially with this golden moments drop coming up. The traffic is going to be high. You want to be logged into the app at least 30 minutes early, and you don't want to log out before the drop begins. Another tip is to remove downloaded files, which I've talked about many times. You just go into your settings, and then you click My Files, and then you just remove your downloaded files, and after the drop you can download those files back, and all they are the 3D images of the NFTs that you put into your vault, into your showroom. So when you click that download all files, it'll re-download all those 3D images and put them right back in the vault where you left them. And last but not least, 30 minutes before the drop begins, you probably want to go ahead and preload gems. Go ahead and buy your gems. If you're going into the drop with not enough gems to secure the reservation, I would say you have about a 50% chance of getting that drop. A lot of times people don't have the gems, and whenever they get in there to secure the reservation, there's lag with all the traffic on the app, and they only have 180 seconds to finalize that order. And if they're not able to do it, then it gets dropped back on the stack for a rebound. Alright guys, next up on our timeline for drop tips is 10 minutes before the drop begins, and at that point, if you have an Ethernet adapter, then you want to go ahead and connect it. And Ethernet adapters are something I've suggested to people going for drops for a long time. It allows you to connect your phone directly to your router, and a wireless connection is almost always faster than a Wi-Fi connection. Also, 10 minutes before the drop, you can turn on Do Not Disturb on your device. That's not going to give you any extra speed at drop time, but what it will do is it will prevent people from calling you at the last second right before the drop begins. You also want to kick everybody in your house off the internet if possible. The more people using the internet, the more devices connected to the internet at the time of the drop, the more lag there will be on the internet connection. The next one on the list is kind of an old school tip, deciding which NFT you're going to go for on drop day. We still have classic collectible drops sometimes, and on those you do have to make a decision if you want to go for the common, the rare, the ultra rare. It's always best to make that final decision before drop time because you don't want to be changing your mind at the last second. Another tip for 10 minutes before the drop is to go ahead and go to the NFT page of the drop that day, and not to back out of that page, especially on a golden moments drop. There can be a lot of traffic and you might not be able to get into the page, so go ahead and get in there, get ready for the drop, and then put your phone or your tablet into airplane mode. Once you go into airplane mode though, you need to click the Wi-Fi button or you won't have internet, but putting your phone into airplane mode will shut down some background processes that could slow you down just a tiny bit. Alright guys, now that we have our phone and our internet running as fast as possible, let's get into some of the old and new drop techniques that we can use on drop day to secure these NFTs. Since we have the big Valentine's Day Disney Golden Moments drop coming up, I'll start off with blind box drops, and on those, the best technique seems to be Space Gate. And what Space Gate is finding that little blank space above the Notify Me box and the drop down menu on the drop page. We know from previous blind box drops that when the timer hits 0 and the drop begins, the Buy Now button pops up right above the Notify Me button. So when there's about 3 or 4 seconds left on the timer, you want to go ahead and put your finger where that blank space is and start spam clicking all the way until the button pops up, and then you'll be fast to click it and hopefully get the drop that day. After a blind box drop begins, they always sell out within a couple seconds, and then everybody's Buy Now button usually switches to sold out. So when it's time to go for rebounds on blind box drops, your goal is to get that Buy Now button to pop back up where the sold out button is. Basically, a rebound is when an original purchase is not completed after a drop begins. So all these people make their reservations as the drop begins, but not everybody's able to complete it. Maybe they didn't complete the captcha correctly, or they didn't have enough gems in their account. And all those NFTs that don't complete the reservation get thrown back out to be purchased. And we know from past experience that the rebounds happen in 4-minute intervals after the drop. So the first rebound will happen exactly 4 minutes after the drop began, and the second rebound attempts will happen exactly 8 minutes after the drop began. In order to time the rebounds on drop day, I use an external clock that is synced up with the Virginia AWS servers, and I will link that in the description below. When it comes to timing when to click the buy now button at the rebound time, some people click it a second before that 4-minute mark or the 8-minute mark. Some people click it about a half a second before. Some people click it even a little bit earlier or a little bit later. Personally, I click it at 59.5 seconds. So at the first rebound, I would be clicking at 3 minutes and 59.5 seconds. And at the second rebound, I would be clicking at 7 minutes and 59.5 seconds. But everybody's phone and internet combo has a different amount of latency or lag. So it really comes down to trial and error when it gets to timing these rebounds. So now let's get into some new techniques for getting some of these blind box rebounds. Most people's buy now button will have switched to sold out like I mentioned before after the drop begins, and your goal is to get the sold out button to switch back to buy now, and the only way to do that is to click into that drop page at exactly that 4-minute mark or 8-minute mark, the time that the rebounds are released onto the stack to be purchased again. Now with most blind box rebound drop pages, it seems like when you click back in to get that rebound, you have to scroll down a little bit to click the buy now button, and that takes a little bit of time. So a new trick that we've been using is called WaitGate. And on WaitGate, if you're able to be quick enough or lucky enough to click into the drop page at exactly the 4-minute or 8-minute mark and get your buy now button to pop back up, with WaitGate, we don't click the buy now button right then. We wait for the next rebound opportunity. So whenever the next rebound happens, you'll already have your buy now button up while other people are trying to click back into the page at the perfect time to get their buy now up and having to scroll down possibly to click that buy now button. Another trick that people use to avoid having to scroll down to click the buy now button when going for those rebounds is shrinking the text in the settings of their phones. I've tried it myself with my iPad and I'm not able to shrink it enough to make a difference, but I know some people on Android phones are able to go in and shrink their text small enough so that when they're going for blind box rebounds, they don't have to scroll down to click the buy now button, and that gives them a little bit of an advantage. After seeing how WaitGate worked, one of my Omi homies, Soarpan, came up with the idea for BraveGate. BraveGate kind of takes the idea of WaitGate and it applies it to the drop. So like I said before, whenever a drop begins on a blind box drop, everybody clicks the button, and whether they get it or not, everybody's buy now button clicks to sold out. So when we're going for the 4-minute rebound, everybody is trying to click back into the page at the perfect time to get their buy now button back. But the idea behind BraveGate is you don't go for the original drop at all. That way your buy now button is still there when that first rebound at the 4-minute mark happens. And several people have been successful using BraveGate. They just skip the drop completely and go for the first rebound. I've tried it a couple times. I haven't hit with it yet, but I think it's a pretty unique strategy, and it's called BraveGate for a reason. Some people call it StupidGate. I called it CrazyGate for a while, but apparently it does work. Next up, we're going to talk about the Marvel comic drops. The strategy we used mostly to get those in the past was a line gate, and that is lining up that error message with the buy now button, and when there's a few seconds left on the clock, start spamming through both of those until the drop begins, and you'll be one of the first people to click that buy now button. Unfortunately though, a lot of people have noticed that on the comic drops, that buy now button freezes up if you try to spam it. And it seems like it might be device specific. Some of the devices with the faster processors are probably still able to use a line gate and spam on comic drops. But even me with my iPad 9th generation, I have to go with timing. And a lot of people now are using timing to get the comic drops. But you just have to remember, if you're going with timing on these, that the buy now button doesn't pop up at the 0-second mark. It pops up 1 second later. So when the timer hits 0, it's really more like 0.9, and you want to click the button at 0.0. So I try to time it by counting backwards out loud: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and click. Unlike blind box drops, after a comic drop, almost everybody's buy now button stays there. It doesn't usually switch to sold out. Every once in a while it will, but if you have your buy now button there, just make sure you don't refresh or back out of that drop page, and you'll be able to go for those rebounds at the 4-minute, 8-minute, 12-minute marks and so on, just by looking at an external clock and clicking at the perfect time. Lastly are the classic collectible drops, which we used to have all the time in the past, but now you don't see very often, but we still do see once in a while, especially with artist drops. And on those, you have to decide which NFT you're going for that day, whether it be the common, the uncommon, the rare, the secret rare, the ultra rare. Like the comic drops, you're still able to use a line gate on these classic collectible drops, lining up that buy now button with the error message and then spam clicking with a few seconds left before the drop begins and getting the NFT that way. Just like blind box drops, as soon as a classic collectible drop begins, everybody hits buy now, and then everybody's button switches to sold out, and in order to get a rebound, you have to click back into the page at the perfect time. This brings us to a new technique that we've been calling Tabgate. At the bottom of the app, you can see there are 5 different tabs: the store tab, where we usually have the drops, the collection tab, the feed tab, the market, and the profile. The market tab's always closed during drops, so we can't use that, but we can load up the drop page on all 3 of the other tabs. We haven't tested this a whole lot, but every once in a while, one of those tabs will keep the buy now button up after the drop begins and not switch to sold out, which gives you an advantage when it comes to getting those rebounds, especially the first 4-minute rebound. So in order to use Tabgate and set up the drop page on 4 of your tabs, what you need to do is go into the drop page on the store tab first, of course, and then click on one of the NFTs that's being dropped that day. Once you're on that page, right below the picture of that NFT, you'll see 2 little buttons on the right. The left button is for the feed and the right button is for the wish list. We're going to click on the left button first and add this NFT to the feed. You'll have to type in some message, and afterwards just click on the feed tab down at the bottom, find your own message, and you'll see a button there that says view in store. Once you click on view in store, you're going to get to either the classic collectible page that you're going for that day, or you can click on return to the blind box screen, and then you'll have that blind box drop page on that tab. So now you have your feed tab set up. You'll go back to your store tab, use that same NFT, and add it to your wish list. You'll have to click the notify me button on that NFT in order for it to appear in your wish list, but once it does, you can then go to your collection tab, scroll down to your wish list, and access the drop page from there. Now you've got the drop page set up on your store tab, your collection tab, and your feed tab. If you go to your profile and click on your notifications, you can access the feed from there and find another one of those posts that has a view in store button, and then you'll be able to pull up the drop page on your profile tab as well. Then you'll have the drop page up on all 4 tabs, and when the drop begins, you can use any of the tabs you want. I usually use the store tab, and if you're lucky, one of those other tabs will keep the buy now button up while the other ones have switched to sold out, and then you can use that tab to go for the 4-minute rebound, and you won't have to click into the page to get your buy now button back to go for that rebound. Alright guys, there's a few more things I want to mention when going for these drops. The first one is Starbucks Gate, which sounds funny, but actually a lot of people are able to get these drops by going to Starbucks and connecting to their Wi-Fi. If you think about it, Starbucks expects to have a lot of people in there on their laptops or in their cell phones, so they probably have very strong internet. Might be the same with other coffee shops in your area. If you're not getting a good connection at your house, maybe you can try getting the drop from Starbucks. The next tip would be using beats per minute to get your timing right on the drops, especially going for comic drops. A lot of people will use the beats per minute option on the timer that I use to go for the rebounds, and other people will even get a metronome or a metronome app to try to get that timing perfectly, so they click at the exact moment that they want to. And lastly, with the Disney Golden Moments drop coming up tomorrow, keep in mind the past Disney Golden Moments drops were very glitchy, very buggy, and a lot of the people got their drops 15 or 16 minutes after the drop time actually began. So make sure that you're not giving up or backing out of the app, leaving the drop page or any of that. You want to stay there, be patient, and keep trying until possibly you get one of these Disney Golden Moments. Alright everybody, thanks for watching. I hope these tips help you pull one of these Disney Golden Moment Valentine's Day drops, because they're going to be worth a ton. And I will be live streaming tomorrow's comic drop at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will be live streaming the Disney Golden Moments drop at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in between those 2 drops, we're going to have a live album release party on my YouTube live stream. So make sure you join us for that as well. All right, everybody. Good luck tomorrow, and I will see you then. Peace.
I got 100 NFTs on my phone. Pineapple the juice, double cup, styrofoam. Really? I don't see no man, I get bread when I'm on. Don't care what they say, cause they pockets dead wrong. I just made a flip, yeah, flip, yeah. I just made a flip, yeah, rich, yeah, rich, yeah. Now we crypto rich, yeah, sick, yeah. Haters, they so sick, yeah, flip, yeah, flip, yeah. Make that money flip, yeah. I just doubled up.